Some very sad and heartbreaking news to bring you today, as it's being reported by PW Insider and other outlets that Terrence Michael Terry Brunk, better known by his professional wrestling ring name as Sabu, has unfortunately and sadly passed away at the age of 60. As I mentioned, this was first broken by Mike Johnson of PW Insider, who reported, and I quote, PWInsider.com is extremely saddened to report that former ECW World Champion Sabu, one of the most vibrant and groundbreaking professional wrestlers of his era, Sabu, real name Terry Brunk, has passed away. PW Insider says they're working on additional details at this time. Of course, this comes as a surprise to many, as Sabu was recently in the news. Of course, he had just worked his final match over less than a month ago over WrestleMania weekend in Las Vegas. This match actually took place on April 18th, defeating Joey Janela. He appeared last weekend at the Tri-State Wrestling Alliance Reunion Show convention at the 2300 former ECW arena, which appears to have been his final public appearance. Now, on behalf of everyone associated with this channel, we wish Sabu, his family, the deepest condolences to his friends, family, fans. He was certainly one of a kind and changed professional wrestling forever with his legendary matches, his high-flying, hardcore style. As I mentioned, certainly he was one of the most groundbreaking professional wrestlers of all time. There will never be another Sabu. His career was marked by his fearless in-ring style, his commitment to pushing the boundaries, not just of hardcore wrestling, but professional wrestling. He had the nickname of the homicidal, suicidal, genocidal, death-defying Sabu, and he lived up to the moniker. Of course, he largely made his name in the original ECW. He had wrestled in Japan before that, but he became synonymous with extreme wrestling and really was the extreme in Extreme Championship Wrestling. His chaotic, his unpredictable style made him a beloved figure among fans of the hardcore wrestling scene. Now, his beginning in pro wrestling began in the early 1990s, wrestling primarily for independent promotions before joining ECW in 1993. His innovative use of weapons, high-flying maneuvers, triple jump moonsaults, triple jump, a variety of different moves, utilizing steel chairs, willingness to put his body on the line, set him apart from other pro wrestlers, and everybody was in awe of someone they'd never seen anything like Sabu. He became a cornerstone of Extreme Championship Wrestling throughout the 1990s, capturing the ECW World Heavyweight Championship twice, winning the ECW World Television Championship once as well. His feuds with the likes of Taz, his rivalry and partnership with Rob Van Dam, as well as the legendary Terry Funk, are certainly mythic when you talk about the time of ECW. The brutal barbed wire matches, including those with Terry Funk, where the ring ropes were replaced with barbed wire, became iconic moments in ECW history. And I mentioned about his retirement match that only took place less than a month ago, was a no-rope barbed wire match. There were scenes and videos of WrestleMania weekend, him flying outside the ring, going into barbed wire, landing in barbed wire. Certainly, again, absolute incredible stuff. Probably his most infamous match against Terry Funk at Born to Be Wired in 1997 ended with both men being tangled in barbed wire, a gruesome visual that really cemented Sabu's legacy of being this ultimate hardcore warrior and wrestler. There were stories of him having his bicep ripped open and super gluing it together because he didn't want to go to hospital when he couldn't be bothered to go to hospital, so he would just glue all of these wounds shut. If you saw his body throughout his time in professional wrestling, you would see the scars that he wore on him because of the violence that he had endured in the past. Now, I mentioned, obviously, he was best known for his time in ECW in the United States, but he also made a big mark in Japan, competing in FMW, which is Frontier Martial Arts Wrestling, and other promotions where his wild, hardcore style would fit in. He had, as I mentioned, the exploding barbed wire matches. He teamed with his uncle, the original Sheik, as well. Of course, he trained Sabu, and he actually had matches in FMW with his uncle. During one, which was actually the whole ring was engulfed in fire, and he managed to get out. His uncle, the Sheik, had some really serious burns during his time in that match. But as I mentioned, he was known for these wild matches, and during a time where still was tape trading and information was difficult to get across, matches was difficult to get across all parts of the world, his legend, his myth began to grow and continued to grow. And when you saw him live, as I mentioned, he lived up to it. Now, after ECW closed, Sabu did actually have a notable run in WWE, in WWE's ECW Revival from 2006 to 2007. He actually had matches against the likes of John Cena and Rey Mysterio. I look back to him facing John Cena in a lumberjack match at Vengeance back in 2006. It was during that time he did actually have a match against Rey Mysterio at ECW One Night Stand 2006, and it was called off after an incredible spot which saw him have a triple jump moonsault and then DDT Rey Mysterio, who was the World Heavyweight Champion at the time, through a bit of like 2x4 sort of wood in an incredible spot, and both men had to get stretchered out. Now, after he left WWE, he made appearances in TNA Wrestling, where he continued to show his dedication and craft despite the years of wear and tear on the body. And again, all of these scars that he wore, he still had barbed wire matches against the likes of Abyss in TNA Wrestling too. Now, as I mentioned, this comes as a huge shock because Sabu had recently just worked his final match over WrestleMania weekend in Las Vegas, where he defeated Joey Janela in this no-rope barbed wire match. And as I've said, he was he appeared last weekend at the Tri-State Wrestling Alliance Reunion Show Convention at the 2300 Arena, which is seemingly his last final public appearance. Sabu's contribution to professional wrestling cannot be overstated. He was fearless. He was someone that had the dedication not only to hardcore wrestling, but certainly pro wrestling in general, with the innovation that he led the way in the 1990s. So many wrestlers have followed in his footsteps and will look to Sabu as an inspiration. His legacy will continue to live on through his unforgettable matches, his unforgettable style, his influence not just on hardcore wrestling. I think it's a disservice to talk about just hardcore wrestling, but everything that he contributed in terms of professional wrestling. He is truly a one-of-a-kind, truly a legend, whether it's his time, as I mentioned, in ECW, in WWE, in FMW, in Japan, in TNA Wrestling. Of course, he even made an appearance for AEW back in 2023. He made an appearance for All Elite Wrestling on the May 24th episode of 2023's AEW Dynamite, close to 2 years ago. It was revealed that he would come out of retirement for this one-off to be in the corner of Adam Cole along with Roderick Strong during an unsanctioned match with Chris Jericho at the Double or Nothing pay-per-view, during which he actually did take a bump. He actually dived through a table at the time, even though he was 58 years old during that period. Again, an absolutely incredible situation. And actually as well, this was what was really fascinating with Sabu, and there were many stories like this. He actually did appear, of course, at ECW One Night Stand in 2005. Now, there was a situation where back in, I believe it was 2004, the year prior, Sabu had suffered a really serious back injury. And whilst he was injured, he contracted a virus, he was hospitalized, and it actually sidelined him for 10 months. Now, there was even a benefit show in December of 2004 to raise funds for him. The show was considered a success, raising enough money to cover the cost of his medical care, and he was able to make a full recovery. And then he actually had his significant match back, where he defeated Rhino at ECW One Night Stand back in 2005. And this then, as I mentioned, led to more runs in TNA and WWE and more appearances moving forward there. Of course, as I mentioned, if we do get any more details regarding what has happened here, obviously the outpouring of grief, support, and tributes to Sabu, we will let you know. We will have a full tribute video coming up on the channel, as we always do when legends and pro wrestlers sadly pass before their time. But it's a really, really sad story. One that has taken me by surprise, certainly because of the proximity of him actually having his last match less than a month ago over WrestleMania weekend. He is a trailblazer. There will be no one else like Sabu. I mean, it's the crossover of the old hardcore wrestlers of the 70s and the 80s, like with his uncle, the original Sheik, those kind of madmen that blurred the lines between fiction and reality, and you believed they were absolutely crazy and absolutely psycho, but also then integrating it into the style of wrestling that became popularized in the 1990s with the death-defying jumps and the athleticism and the brutal bumps. He was certainly a leader of his generation when it comes to that kind of style. So certainly incredibly sad news. And as I said, we will have more on this when we find out more details, and we will have a full tribute video. But rest in peace, Sabu, passing away at the age of 60 years old. You'll be missed.